Dr. Darshana Rathod, working as Assistant Professor at the College of Agriculture, Parul University. Today we are going to talk about informative advanced webinar on microRNA and emerging initiatives for plant improvement. During thousands of years of human history, many crops have been domesticated for feeding the world. Perfect scientists have innovated biotechnologies for improving crop quality. For sustainable development, modalities and tools are needed to develop. Among this, microRNA is becoming an emerging target for new cultivars, yield and quality, and health tolerance, environmental, abiotic and biotic stresses. This microRNA are extensive class of small regulatory agents which play a role in all plant biological and metabolic processes, not only plant development but also in compound biosynthesis and response to various environmental stress. MicroRNA-based technology is becoming a new strategy for crop improvement, future agriculture sustainable development. Our chairman is of this webinar is Dr. Devans, and we have Dr. as a speaker of Jaipur. He done MS PhD in biology. Am I audible?
Now.
Now? Okay,
yes.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. So we have respected Dr. C.P. Singh as a speaker. He is a professor at University of Rajasthan, Jaipur. He has more than 8 years of research as well as teaching experience. He has obtained his PhD in biotechnology from Center of DNA Fingerprinting and Diagnostics, Hyderabad. He has received many international and national awards in conference and research paper publications. He has published more than 10 research publications in renowned and peer-reviewed journals. He has been reviewer of so many renowned research journals, and also he has delivered more than 10 international and 4 national invited lectures. Now, I would like to invite respected Dr. C.K. Sarma, sir. Please share your valuable words to our audience. Thank you.
Very good morning. Thank you, Dr. Darshana. Being a principal in College of Agriculture, Faculty of Agriculture, esteemed Parul University, I invite Dr. C.P. Singh. Dr. Singh, actually, our esteemed university is offering the different kind of the courses in the different domain under the dynamic leadership of Honorable President, sir, Dr. Devanshu Patel, sir, with the dynamic leadership of Honorable Provost, sir, and Honorable Registrar, sir. In Faculty of Agriculture, we are offering the courses in the dairy technology, agriculture engineering, itself agriculture, and recently we are offering the course in the animal husbandry in the form of diploma. No doubt, today's topic is very much relevant for the plant sciences. If I say agriculture sciences, it will be more appropriate because the microRNA plays the significant role in the gene silencing as well as the different post-transcriptional modifications. So I am very much sure that the audience who have joined today's webinar will get the benefit. Dr. Singh is having high exposure regarding the knowledge which he has gained in due course of time after exposing himself at CDFD, Hyderabad, and University of Rajasthan. With these words, I would like to welcome my friend, Dr. Singh.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the words. Yes, sir. Now I would like to respected Dr. C.K. Singh, sir, for start with your presentation. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. C.K. Sharma ji for contacting me and inviting for delivering this lecture. And of course, Parul University and whole administration who shows interest organizing such type of webinar where, research scholars or professors or scientists can interact with young students. So I'm really thankful to Parul University and Professor C.K. Sharma ji. So actually, I'm not able to see the audience.
This is the platform where we will not be able to see the audience because they are on the live stream with the Facebook. Audience is there.
Okay. Okay, then I will assume it.
Yeah, we have to assume.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so today I'm going to speak on microRNA and their specific potential for crop improvement or plant improvement, we can say. So in this talk, there will be so many dimensions. We can understand the basics, how these microRNA can be identified, how they can be characterized, how their functions can be identified, and in the later part, how they can be used as a potential tool or a factor molecule to improve the plant production by various methods. So this is the content of the lecture in which we will be having first introduction to RNAi, then as a part of RNAi, microRNA, then basic history, biogenesis in animal and plant, basic concept of gene regulation, specific concept of seed region, microRNA functions, different functions, not only in plant, and how we can identify microRNA and validate their expression, microRNA target prediction and target validation, and microRNA in plant improvement. So let's begin with the RNA. Because as its name suggests, microRNA, so it involves RNA. It means it is a type of RNA. And what is RNA? RNA is a ribonucleic acid. You all are aware. So basically, we classify RNA in two categories: coding and non-coding, based on the potential of whether it ultimately result in the coding a protein sequence or not. So the only RNA which code for protein till now known is messenger RNA, and rest of the RNAs are non-coding RNA. Okay, as you can see here, ribosomal transfer RNA, small nucleolar, SI and MI. Now, then what fall in the RNAi? Before understanding the concept of RNAi, we should know bifurcation or categories within the non-coding RNA also, because RNAi is based on the non-coding RNA. So non-coding RNA is what? As we discussed, which are not coding for any protein sequence, but their length can be, at several kbs, or it can be just a few hundreds in nucleotides. Based on that, there is a, categorization of small and large non-coding RNA. So RNA which are less than 200 nucleotide are called small non-coding RNA, while rest of the non-coding RNA are large in category. So now question arises, why there is a classification of small and large for only non-coding RNA? Why not for coding RNA? Because for mRNA or coding RNA, there is no such type of classification, small or large. The reason is, it depends on the protein, whether protein length is small or large, according to the transcript RNA. While in non-coding, their behavior change, their regulatory, we can say, principle changes by with the length. So small non-coding RNA are mainly fall in the RNAi pathway, while large non-coding RNA are till now have not been defined for following any specific pathway. Okay. So this is the reason why there is a categorization of small and large in non-coding RNA, while same is not there in the coding RNA. Because RNA deals with the small RNA, so we again categorize small RNA in two categories: regulatory and infrastructural. So infrastructural means which are helping in the making architecture of or structural component of the cell or organism, like tRNA, while regulatory RNA, which mainly govern the RNA pathway, are siRNA, piRNA, miRNA. So these are three RNA types which are responsible for gene regulation through RNA interference mode. This was the basic about the RNAi and which type of RNA fall in the RNAi. Now we'll discuss a little bit history regarding the miRNA and RNAi pathway. So first miRNA was Lin4, discovered in C. elegans, Caenorhabditis elegans, by Victor Ambros group in 1993. Lee et al. This paper. So they identified this miRNA, just a RNA. That time they did not name it like microRNA, just non-coding RNA, small non-coding RNA, which was complementary to a particular gene and was responsible for down-regulating the expression of Lin14 mRNA. So this was that time just a non-coding small RNA. Nothing was known other than that. No pathway, no name. After that, after 7 years, another microRNA was discovered called LAT7. Since same organism, but by different group, Reinhardt. Then in the later, this group Reinhardt collaborated with Victor Ambros group, which was responsible for this discovery. Then they discovered several microRNA from plant. And then in 2000, after 2001 or in this window 1 to 3, 2001 to 2003, several paper came in plant and C. elegans. Then the concept of microRNA name was arises due to number of small RNA was discovered, and they are characterized for their sequence, because it was not easy to give name just for one sequence. When the data was significant, then only you can give proper nomenclature for something. So then it was named as a microRNA. But interestingly, you will note here, in 1998, Andrew Fire and Craig Mello discovered a breakthrough mechanism called RNA interference, RNAi, in 1998, while microRNA was discovered in 1993. So you can see that microRNA came earlier before the RNAi, but these two groups was not able to tell that Ambros and Reinhardt which pathway these small RNA are following, how they are functioning. Then when this RNAi pathway was discovered, then only they were able to say that these small non-coding RNA are also following RNAi pathway. Okay, but Victor Ambros did not get any recognition at the level of Nobel Prize or something, while Andrew Fire and Craig Mello received the Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine. I will describe why they preferred to offer them Nobel Prize. Why not Victor Ambros? So what is RNAi? As its name suggests, RNA interference. When a RNA molecule interfere with the gene expression, roughly we can say, when a RNA molecule interfere with the gene expression, then that pathway is called, or that mechanism is called RNA interference. while technically you can say is a biological process in which RNA molecule inhibit gene expression or translation by neutralizing targeted mRNA molecule. And this same pathway is also well known in plant co-suppression, PTGS, like post-transcription gene silencing, while in fungi, quelling. So these all are having relative meaning, while the main concept or fundamental is same, which is a RNA molecule responsible for inhibiting the translation after transcription. So it is inhibition at the post-transcription level when RNA is there, but it is not allowing to make protein. Okay. So as we already discussed in RNAi, these are the three main small RNA molecules. And today we are going to discuss more about miRNA. So before that, we'll discuss the Nobel Prize story. Why these two got Nobel Prize for discovering RNAi? The reason was because before RNAi pathway discovery, if somebody want to study the function of a gene, okay, then it took at that time, if you read the literature, several years for discovering a single gene, because it was totally dependent on the mutations. If you are getting suitable mutation, then phenotype change, then only you can determine the exact gene. While after discovery of RNAi, within 1 week, you can understand the function of a particular gene, and you can either inhibit that gene using RNAi pathway, or you can overexpress its competitor using RNAi pathway. Then you will be able to see the effect on particular gene. So how they exactly discovered this pathway, that is very important for students. How these two guys discovered RNAi pathway. So what they did, they identified one gene called UNC 2020 that is responsible for twitching movement. So in C. elegans, if you know the worms, they are move using some twitching movements. So this gene was responsible for twitching movement. They made 3 types of constructs against this gene. So let me show you using pen if you are able to see me. So suppose this is the UNC 2020 mRNA present in the C. elegans cell. So what they made a sense RNA. So same RNA as this RNA, they make another copy outside in the tube. Okay, sense RNA. So this is sense RNA. Then they make another antisense RNA, which can perfectly complementary, reverse complementary to this, so it can bind perfectly. So 2 combination. Then they made 3rd type of combination. This sense or antisense both were annealed together, means hybridized, and duplex was created. Okay, so 3 combination against this gene. Sense when only this white, antisense means only this red, and double strand means both sense and antisense are hybridized. So 3 type of RNA they prepared in the tube, then they injected in different C. elegans. Then they observed there was no change in sense for that protein expression and mRNA level, while there was some decrease at the level of RNA as well as protein for antisense, while it was completely abolished. The expression of UNC 2020 when double-stranded RNA was injected. Okay, so they revealed when double-stranded RNA is injected, cell has some pathway which process this RNA, then RNA from this duplex separate itself in single strand and bind to the target, means that UNC mRNA. Then they completely inhibited the expression at the mRNA level, and protein was also abolished. When RNA is not available, then protein will also not be there, definitely. Okay, So this is how they discovered the RNAi pathway. Okay, and for this they got Nobel Prize because this was a breakthrough. Within a 1 week or 2-3 days, you can analyze any gene for which sequence is available in computer at NCBI databases. Okay, that was the reason this effort was appreciated through Nobel Prize. Okay, this technology was also called Technology of the Year in 2002 by Science magazine, billion-dollar breakthrough by Fortune magazine in 2003, and later its so many applications were described in several review papers written by same group and the other people who joined RNAi research, like David Bolcom from Cambridge University, then David Baltimore, who did research in tRNA also and reverse transcription also, then David Bartle is from MIT. So then so many groups which were actually involved in gene regulation research also moved to the RNAi and involving microRNA, siRNA, piRNA components. So with this story, now I'm going to the microRNA. So till now we have discussed that there is a RNAi pathway. In this, 3 type of small RNA molecule falls, which actually do the job for RNA interference, which are microRNA, siRNA, and piRNA. So what is these microRNA? As their name suggests, micro. So they are definitely small. And so, as you can see in the first line, their size is 19 to 26 nucleotide long, non-coding RNA, and they are single-stranded. Single-stranded when they are exactly functioning. At the time of functioning, they are single-stranded. During the biogenesis, they remain double-stranded. They require a precursor for processing. This we'll discuss in the biogenesis pathway. Okay, why they are so important? Because they are present everywhere. In almost all higher eukaryotes, microRNA has been identified, and some of them are conserved also for their sequence as well as for function. Okay, so what are the major pathway or major mechanisms where these are involved? Like development, apoptosis, metabolism, immunity, circadian rhythm, stress, cancer, heart diseases. So many are not listed here. So as I told you, in all higher eukaryotes, when they are present in all higher eukaryotes and their role is gene regulation, then definitely they are going to be involved in almost all biological processes because they are regulatory molecules. Okay, what I said, this statement is also attested by that last sentence. If you see on your screen, in human, approximate 60% of genes predicted to be regulated by miRNA. So you can see, I think 22 decades before, we were not bothered about any non-coding RNA, and the DNA which was not coding any protein, we simply call it junk DNA. But now you will not find any such type of term in research papers like junk DNA or DNA which is not useful, because everything gaining importance in DNA or at genome level after the discovery of functions of non-coding RNA, and these functions are not just for silencing 1 or 2 genes. They are indispensable. They are present everywhere. So this last statement says, in human, out of 23,000 genes, which are actually, the data suggest human has 23,000 protein coding genes, 60% are regulated by microRNA. So they are very crucial molecule to study. And their current number are 48,000. So you can see in 1993, first microRNA was discovered, but now 48,000 microRNA has been identified, and they are listed in a database called Mirbase. That will also I will show you that in upcoming slides. Okay. If we discuss specific functions of microRNA, of course, gene regulation at the level of post-transcription gene regulation, immune responses. So these are actually umbrella terms like immune responses. So many type of immune responses are there. They can be, just controlling a expression of particular gene, or they can directly interacting with the pathogen also. That is also possible. So it is an umbrella term, immune response here. Disease, only two are listed here, but there are several diseases where microRNA role has been identified. Abiotic stress in plant, yes. In plant, abiotic stress is the one of the, mostly studied area for using microRNA, and so many plant has been re-engineered using microRNA to produce, drought, high temperature, and so many other abiotic stresses like nutrient deficiency resistant plants. Biotic stress, of course, virus, fungi, insects, metabolism regulation, circadian rhythm, growth and development, flowering. Another interesting one is flowering. So why I'm focusing on flowering? Because some plants which are not used for any fruit or seed product. They are used for only biomass. So if in such type of plant you can decrease the flowering using microRNA, then biomass will increase. So this microRNA has been utilized similarly in crops like sugarcane and switchgrass, and also in sorghum. It is underway. And of course, yield. So yield is the ultimate product which result when microRNA has been, either in abiotic stress, biotic stress, they are, used to improve the fitness of the plant, then ultimately yield is going to be improved. Okay. So now this discussion was for if you are not aware about microRNA, then this would have been like a superficial introduction to you regarding microRNA. Now I will give you the practical, or you can say how these molecules are generated, how they are synthesized by particular cell, exact pathway in animal and plant. So first we are going to discuss in animals. So this is a nucleus, there is a genome. Transcription, either RNA is polymerase second or third, then you got a transcript. So this transcript is not normal in only one way. So that way is actually complementary sequence, self-complementary sequence present in this transcript. So what is the meaning of this? If you are able to see my hands through this camera, then suppose this is the transcript, whole transcript. Some sequence is present here. Use GC, 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 CG, CG, like that. Okay. Just reverse complementary to this is present here. CG, 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 GC, GC, GC. Then what will happen? When transcription is over, these two arms will come together, and this sequence will make contact with this, and there will be hybridization using hydrogen bonding. So this sequence will pair each other. Then it is called stem, as you are able to see on your screen. So this type of stem is produced when there is a self-complementation present within the same transcript. Loop, when this region have no self-complementary sequences, then this will be looped out. Okay, this will be seen like a loop, as you are able to see on your screen. So then only this type of transcript is formed. So when transcription occurred, this was a normal transcript, means normal RNA. Because of the presence of self-complementary sequences, they made short hairpin structure or stem loop structure. Okay, so this is popularly called stem loop structure because there is a stem and there is a loop. So here I have shown 3 stem loop structure present within a single transcript. When such type of structure is there, then we call it as primary microRNA or pri-miRNA. Then this transcript is recognized by an enzyme called DROSHA. So this DROSHA is actually a RNase class 3 enzyme which has 3 properties. So their classification is based on the properties, how much properties they have. Then their classes are defined 1, 2, 3. So this is most advanced type of RNase enzyme, has 3 type of property. It can recognize, it can bind, and it can process. Okay. It take help from a cofactor, sorry, called DGCR8, D George Critical Region Gene 8. This is a name of protein. It helped DROSHA to identify this transcript and process into a precursor miRNA. So you can see here. So what is the difference between precursor miRNA and primary miRNA? It is single stem loop structure, while there can be several. Okay. And length. The length of single precursor miRNA is 60 to 100 nucleotide, while primary miRNA can be from 100 to several kbs, because it depends on the transcription. What is the length of that particular gene which is transcribed for producing such type of transcript? While primary miRNA, precursor miRNA length has short window of 60 to 100 nucleotide. Okay. So we received here a precursor miRNA through the processing of DROSHA. Then this precursor miRNA is transported a protein called exportin 5, which is a transporter. It take help from RAN, another protein which actually recruit here GTP, and GTP through GTP hydrolysis they receive energy, and this energy is used to transport precursor miRNA from nucleus to the cytoplasm. So now we got precursor miRNA in the cytoplasm. So this precursor miRNA again recognized by another enzyme called dicer. This is very popular enzyme of RNA pathway. Okay, so this dicer also a RNase third class enzyme, which again process this precursor miRNA into a mature miRNA duplex. So this is your actually the miRNA which we call a miRNA duplex, because it contains 2 strands. So till now this was a single transcript. Here also it was a single transcript. Here also it was a single transcript, but it was making a stem loop structure. Here it was also single transcript, but after the action of dicer, this loop is removed. Now it converted into a duplex. So 2 strands have no joining anywhere. Only they are attached through the hydrogen bonds. That is why they are making a duplex. So this is called mature miRNA or miRNA duplex. So this was the biogenesis of a microRNA in animal. Now after that, what happens? This miRNA duplex make a complex called RISC complex, RNA induced silencing complex. So this miRNA actually induced a formation of a complex that is called RISC, RNA induced silencing complex. For miRNA, this complex is called miRISC, means for microRNA RISC. For siRNA, it is called siRISC. So what it contains? It contains, of course, your miRNA duplex, then a protein called Argonaute protein. However, I have only shown here a single strand, not the duplex, because in the later part, only one strand will remain loaded on this complex, while other will be degraded. Okay, so the strand which is retained on this complex is called guide strand, which will further guide this complex to target particular mRNA for gene regulation. And the other strand which is get degraded called passenger strand. It's like in a bus. So conductor is actually a guide which will guide the bus where to go. Okay, while passenger will keep getting out from the bus when their stop is coming. So similarly, you can understand this concept. There are 2 strands in miRNA duplex. One strand remain on the board called guide strand, while another strand get degraded called passenger strand. Okay, but for this to understand, there is only hypothesis. no experimental proof which strand will remain on the board. Okay. And the hypothesis is, this hypothesis also based on the observations in number of studies, is that which strand contains the 5' AU more, means the strand which has weak 5' thermodynamically is generally retained on the risk complex. Okay, so this is the hypothesis. Then this risk complex with the single stranded miRNA find the suitable reverse complementary target. Then the ultimate result may be the repression of protein expression followed by target mRNA degradation. This we are going to discuss in the mechanism part. So in this animal one, there were three main steps you can say: the DROSA processing, transport by exportin, and another processing by the dicer. While if you compare this with the plant, then there are some significant differences in the biogenesis pathway. So here also we are highlighting a genome which contains a miRNA gene. Sorry. And through transcription, we got a transcript. Then this transcript because contains self-complementary sequence making a stem loop structure called primary miRNA. This primary miRNA here is processed by dicer-like protein 1. So here there is no DROSA. Only dicer is responsible. So this is dicer-like protein 1, DCL1. It take help from hypoelastic vein protein, serrate, TUF, and DDL1 protein. Then they make a complex. This complex is responsible for processing of primary miRNA into precursor miRNA in plant. Subsequently, this precursor miRNA again by DCL1 is processed into the miRNA duplex. So here, dicer itself is present in the nucleus, not in the cytoplasm, and responsible for both the steps of maturation of miRNA from primary to miRNA. Then another difference, there is a methylation by HUA enhancer 1 enzyme in the nucleus itself at the 3' of both the strands. Okay. After methylation only, this mature duplex miRNA is transported by a protein called HAST, okay, to the cytoplasm. So now, after several variation, you are receiving a mature miRNA into the cytoplasm. While in the animal, precursor miRNA itself was transported to the cytoplasm, while here, perfectly protected mature miRNA has been sent to the cytoplasm. Now, again, this also make a complex called RISC complex, RNA-induced silencing complex, and almost similar pathway they follow for the governing the gene regulation in plants. So hope you got the the points which I emphasized during my discussion. Okay, as I told you, those pathway were actually classical pathway or canonical pathway. So what are canonical pathways? Canonical pathways are which pathways which has maximum steps during a maturation of a product or synthesizing a product. The pathway which are having maximum number of steps are called canonical pathway, or roughly you can say main pathway or classical pathway. While other than those pathways, there are non-canonical pathway of microRNA biogenesis has been also discovered now, and such type of pathway is intron based. So if you understood the biogenesis of microRNA, the main prerequisite means requirement in entering into the microRNA pathways stem loop structure. If a transcript is making stem loop structure, then there is a chance of that RNA entering into the microRNA biogenesis pathway. So because intron also make stem loop structure after their splicing, then there are several cases where introns are acting as a microRNA after they are processed by dicer. SNORNA, small nucleolar RNA, also has been identified to act as a microRNA through dicer processing. Then tRNA-like molecules, which are processed by tRNA Z enzyme. Then they also enter through the dicer pathway and produce mature miRNA. And tRNA molecule itself also in few cases has been identified as a substrate of dicer and ultimately result in the miRNA formation. So these are known canonical pathway, and their numbers are very, very not only small, scanty, very few if you compare with the canonical pathway. Okay, after the discussion of biogenesis, now we are going to discuss their regulatory mechanism, how they actually regulate the gene expression. So first thing is to understand the concept of seed region. Because miRNA is very small, you can see here. So this is miRNA 5' to 3'. Some sequence is shown in red. Then there below is the target. It having some pairing based on the hybridization of hydrogen bonding. Okay. So from nucleotide number 2 to 8. So this 7 nucleotides are actually called miRNA seed region. If they are having perfect complementary with the target, then there are likely chances that this miRNA is actually genuinely targeting particular sequence. That is the concept of microRNA seed region. From 5' nucleotide number 2 to 8, if they are perfect complementary with the target, then that is the genuine target of particular microRNA. Okay. Now, there are two concepts because this whole gene regulation is based on the binding, complementary binding. Then there is a case of imperfect binding or perfect binding. So when miRNA is perfectly binding to the target, that is generally observed in plant. Imperfect binding, that is generally observed in animals. Okay, this binding location, how you can understand this? If you have knowledge about the typical mRNA of eukaryotic cell. So below is shown for you a eukaryotic mRNA. You can see here. Cap, 5' UTR, a coding sequence which has a start and a stop codon, then 3' UTR and poly tail. So this is the typical mRNA structure of a eukaryotic gene, okay, derived from eukaryotic gene. Now, why I showed that? Because miRNA has no limitation where it will bind. It can bind anywhere. But this was not the case almost, 10 years before, when microRNA was discovered, and after several years it was assumed and it was believed that microRNA only bind to the 3' UTR. So UTR is what? Untranslated region. So regions which are not actually ultimately translated into protein. So miRNA bind only 3' UTR. This was the belief, or we can say experimental proof was also there for this till 2008 or 9, we can say. After that, several research papers came in plant and Drosophila mainly. They ruled out this concept and demonstrated that miRNA can bind anywhere and do their regulatory function. So miRNA can bind to the 3' UTR, which are mainly responsible for downregulating the gene expression. They can bind to the CDS, again responsible for the downregulating the gene regulation and also degrading the target. In the third case, 5' UTR. In this case, in some genes, it has been recorded that expression of protein is upregulated when miRNA binding to the 5' UTR, but not in all cases. Okay. Now, after the location, what are the possible outcomes of microRNA mediated gene regulation? These are the major outcomes. What is miRNP? miRNP is actually microRNA nucleoprotein complex. It means your RISC complex actually. RISC complex is also called miRNP. Yeah, MIR-NP complex because they involve nucleoproteins and microRNA. So first is we can discuss is mRNA cleavage. which is very easy to understand also. But in which cases it has been observed? It is observed when a particular miRNA is perfectly complementary to the target, then it has been observed that target RNA is degraded. Means that is cleaved by Argonaute protein, which contains domain for RNase H. Okay, so RNase H activity is there with Argonaute protein, and then it cut the target when microRNA is perfect complementary. While these three cases are when microRNA is partially complementary. So first is initiation block. So miRNP with the microRNA binding to the target, and it is blocking the initiation. How it can block the initiation? So this is very interesting to understand. A student may have some doubt because the factor which are the microRNA binding is inhibiting is this initiation factor. How it microRNA binding here can inhibit this? This is happening because when there is a translation, RNA, mRNA get circulated. Okay, because poly A binding protein interacts with the 5' cap binding proteins for successful translation. This binding of miRNA complex with the complex inhibit poly A binding proteins activity, and that hinder or disable the interaction of poly A binding protein with the initiation protein. So that is why it is called initiation block. Elongation is very simple to understand because this complex is in the way of ribosome, so it will not allow ribosome to go ahead. So it is a elongation block. In some cases, this has been observed with these three all pathways. When these three all pathways are occurring, de-adenylation also has been observed simultaneously, whether mRNA cleavage is there, elongation block is there, or initiation block is there. So this is a complex called CCR4 knot, responsible for removing adenine from the mRNA. Okay, these are four main mechanisms by which miRNA regulate the gene expression. However, there are several gene-specific cases or pathways has been identified for in specific organisms. Now, by looking the constraint of time, I'm skipping this microRNA nomenclature basics and directly going to the microRNA identification. So, till now we understood what is microRNA, how they are generated, how they regulate the gene expression. But if you are interested to identify microRNA from plant or animal or insect, how you can do it? You can do microRNA prediction using next generation small RNA sequencing. So you have to do next generation small RNA sequencing to get reads, then analyze them. MicroRNA prediction using genome sequences. If genome sequence is available, then you also can identify. MicroRNA prediction using express gene sequencing. If that plant or that organism is not explored, only EST database is available, still you can identify microRNA. If you have identified, then do microRNA expression validation. Okay, through several methods, this we are going to discuss. So here I am highlighting only one pathway of identifying microRNA, that is microRNA prediction using next generation small RNA sequencing. So what you have to do, isolate RNA from the selected tissue, size fractionation selection of less than 20 nucleotides. As you know, microRNA are falling within the window of 30 nucleotides, means 16 to 26. So what we do, we take RNA which is falling within the 15 to 14 nucleotide range according to the marker which is run by side in the PAGE gel, polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis. Then we elute that RNA, further purify, then make a library, then send to the particular outsourcing, either research institute or company which are providing the facility for small RNA sequencing. Then after that machine produce you some reads, that sequences are called reads until they are not analyzed. So you gave this RNA sample, machine, through a specific mechanism, whether it was Solexa, Illumina, pyrosequencing, they will give you some sequence. Those sequences are called that time reads, okay? Because those were read by particular machine. Then those reads are mapped on the particular genome. If you are having, if you are not having, then do de novo alignment to produce some significant or useful sequences. Then if you found mapping on the genome, then you can characterize particular microRNA for sequence itself. Then for the experimental validation you have to do using various techniques. This I'm going to skip. Now, database. So microRNA database is actually Mirbase, and this is contain almost all the microRNA discovered till now. You can easily identify or research microRNA on this web page of Mirbase. Okay. If you want to produce stem loop, like suppose you have some RNA sequence and you want to see whether my sequence is having stem loop structure or not, use this software mFold web server to produce such type of structures. MicroRNA expression detection. So till now, using one technique, I showed you how you can identify the sequence of microRNA. But now you have to validate. Nobody is going to believe what you have identified on the computer as a sequence. You have to actually show in the expression on the gel or through microarray or other technique. So techniques are Nathan blotting, reverse transcription PCR. This you can do semi-quantitative or quantitative. There is a variation for microRNA called stem loop RT-PCR because sequence is very small for microRNA. So that is why you have to use a specific technique called stem loop RT-PCR and polyetailed RT-PCR. I will show you the result of one of my study using these techniques. Small RNA sequencing also you can confirm again for microarray. If you have chip for those microRNA, then you can hybridize your sample and tell, yes, these microRNA are present in my samples. Now, so till now my story was, again, there was no real data in that. Okay, that was basic concept, theory, biogenesis, functions. So that was like a review on literature. But now I'm going to show you the real data, how these microRNA looks like and how we map them, everything. So you can see these are the result of one of my study, not from plant, not from animal, from insect to virus. Okay. So these are 4 microRNA which we discovered in a virus called Bombyx mori nucleopolyhedrosis virus. It is a baculovirus. So you can see this is the name of microRNA, BMP MER1. So this is virus name, then MER1 because it was the first microRNA. Then similarly 2, 3, 4. So their sequence is almost 21 nucleotide. This is the genome of virus where we mapped the microRNA. So you can see here within the 25 kb window, we got all these 4 microRNA. I'm not discussing here this 5th one. So you can see MIR3 was coming from the DNA binding protein UTR region. 2 was coming from the chitinase biprimary UTR region. And MIR1 was coming from the cathepsin region. This we could not validate it. So I'm not going to discuss this. And again for MIR4 was also not identified coming from any known ORF, because these are known ORF means responsible for coding a particular protein. But here means that region was not coding for any protein. That is why question mark. These are the structure for all our 4 microRNA using mFold program. These are stem loop structures. Then this is the real data which a student love to see when they are doing research. Okay, so we validated their expression using Nathan blot in fat body and midgut of insect. So you can see band at 22 nucleotide in all the samples, and midgut also there are expression. Only for 1 microRNA we received expression of precursor microRNA. So this is precursor. These are mature miRNA. Similarly, using poly-tailed RT-PCR, also we identified the expression for these microRNA. You can see in control there is no expression. Okay, expression should come compared to this band. So this is not the microRNA band. This is primer dimer. Okay, these are the bands responsible for the microRNA expression. In midgut also, we received the band in infected also using poly-A-tailed RT-PCR. Then again another technique called stem loop RT-PCR. We identified the expression of microRNA. Now, so you identified the sequence of microRNA, you validated their expression, but what is the significance? What the function these microRNA are doing? We don't know. So the main thing comes in the last is to know the function of particular microRNA. This how you can do? To know the target of microRNA, because their style of doing function is because they are targeting a particular gene through reverse complementary sequence. So that is why you have to identify particular target. How you can do it? Again, use bioinformatics, predicted miRNAs, total number of genes. Either use some program like Miranda is highlighted here or any other tool, set score, put some energy. These are some fixed standard, like here delta G is less than minus 20 kilocal per mole. Then alignment filters, then functional annotation. Annotation means if your microRNA is hitting some sequence in the genome and that gene sequence is not known for any function, okay, as you see in question mark in that virus, then you have to do homology blast with other known species where this sequence is known for some function. That is called functional annotation. Okay, what are the other tools responsible for predicting microRNA targets? Miranda, target scan, Dyna, Tikitar. Only 4 or 5 are highlighted here. There are more than 30 microRNA predicting tools available specifically for plant, animal, and together also. And you can use directly on website, or if you are having the knowledge of writing algorithm using computer language like Perl, so you can write those program also for a specific individual organism or microRNA. This is one page of PSRNA target which is used for plant microRNA target prediction. RNA hybrid, this is independent of plant, insect, anything. You can put any sequence and see the hybridization is there or not between those two sequences. MicroRNA functional validation, how you can do it? You can do, as you know, if you are, gone through the genetic engineering, genomics, molecular biology, there are only two ways of doing, functional analysis of anything is either you inhibit the expression or you overexpress particular protein or gene. So similar concept is used for microRNA. We either inhibit it or overexpress it. Then we analyze expression of its target to get the clear idea whether this microRNA doing which type of function, whether it is really targeting a gene genuinely, or it is just a pseudo target, or those targets are only false positives, like that. What are the tools for microRNA based manipulation? You can overexpress microRNA using vector or mimic. Mimic means the artificially synthesized copy, exact copy of microRNA. Vector means like plasmid. In plasmid, you insert backbone of microRNA. MicroRNA inhibition using a vector. So in vector, you express the inhibitor of microRNA. MicroRNA inhibition using target sponge. Sponge means sequence which are complementary to microRNA. When they enter inside the cell, they absorb all the microRNA sequences. So there will be no microRNA. That is how you inhibit the microRNA. MicroRNA target inhibition using artificial microRNA. So suppose you know the target, but your natural microRNA actually not inhibiting that in that manner. So you can design artificial microRNA. Means the sequence which is responsible for inhibiting will be remain same, while backbone will be the standardized sequence from like LET7 or MIR9, which are already standardized. So in this, backbone will be from the other microRNA, while the main stem region from your microRNA of particular target. MicroRNA inhibition using CRISPR or Cas9. This is the most advanced one, where directly microRNA are edited. If they are harmful for the cell, they are edited for less expression or lower expression or mutated expression. Or if they are not able to inhibit significantly the target, then their target are also mutated using this CRISPR-Cas9 system. So these are all possible ways using genetic manipulation methods. Now we are coming to the last part of our talk. So I will finish it quickly within 10 to 15 minutes. So as you can see this graph, this arrows indicated towards so many mechanisms. Crops with more consumption, safety or nutrition, artificial miRNA has been used. Now you are aware what is artificial miRNA. Food security, increased crop yield, biotic stress, abiotic stress, manipulation of plant development. So almost all aspects of plant system has been tested using microRNA to regulate it and improve it. Okay, you can see in this plant. So I don't think so any part is remaining which is not under the control of microRNA. Start from the top. Here also you can see male sterility, sex determination, tract development, tussle branches, tussle branch angle and leaf angle, ear rows, nitrogen metabolism and lodging resistance. This is water lodging resistance. Okay, branch outgrowth, brake development, leaf polarity, plant height and organ size. So almost all aspects here are shown which are under the regulation of specific microRNA. By looking this picture, you can accept that microRNAs are as much as important as earlier we think that proteins are there. In textbooks, till now microRNA or other non-coding RNA are not highlighted or emphasized in textbook for students that these are so much having importance, because still they are in the research papers or review papers. You will find several review papers, but in textbook only you will find the basic RNA interference mechanism, VIGS, viral induced gene silencing, microRNA biogenesis, but not in the detail about the how these microRNA have changed the plant system or in insect or viral resistance system. So in textbook still you will find the importance of protein, not the microRNA. But definitely after at least in next decade, your textbook will have significant amount of chapters for RNA interference, microRNA, siRNA, and other non-coding RNA, small also and long also. Okay. So that was in single plant. Now you can see several plants example: rice, corn, wheat, potato, tomato, barley. So 6 plants are highlighted here, which almost covered by microRNA from all the sides, and controlling the almost all aspects of their growth and development. Abiotic stress. These are the main abiotic stresses: drought, salinity, heat, cold, light, heavy metal. Important microRNA, MIR169. So what is this MIR? MIR actually, according to the nomenclature, if you are highlighting the mature microRNA, then you have to write small mi, then capital R, then number of microRNA. If you are discussing the precursor or primary or gene of microRNA, then you have to write small mi, R, all three are small for gene and precursor and pri. Okay. So after several analysis, what you can get a plant which is a stable genome, means microRNA from outside is overexpressed or inhibited. Then you get a plant which is climate resilient. Climate resilient means several type of abiotic stress can be sustained by particular plant through these microRNA overexpression or inhibition. Now, I'm going to discuss 3-4 cases where microRNA has been overexpressed or inhibited. Then what the outcome exactly as a agronomic trait. Agronomic trait means in agriculture we want some trait which are significant for us, which can be further taken to the market or society. So such type of examples I'm going to discuss. So here overexpression of MIR157 in tomato delay fruit ripening. So this is very important because lots of stock of tomato get degraded due to early ripening, and immediately the storage is not available in cold storages, then they get degraded. So how we can delay that? So one group overexpressed microRNA Win57 using several constructs. You can see here when MIR-Win57 was overexpressed, when that wild type was almost going to start in damaging the product, here it remain as a green. So it looks like it will take at least 15 to 20 days to ripen. If there is a time period of 15 to 20 days, then you can control your crop to ripen in successive manner, so you can use the product to sell in the market accordingly. Sorry. So this was one of the major achievement in plant system where a agronomic trait was developed using the microRNA. Another in rice, MIR397 was overexpressed. Then there was increase in the grain size. You leave all these, focus only these seed. So this is grain of wild type. This is grain of when microRNA was overexpressed. Okay. So there is almost 10 to 15% increase in the grain size. Okay. If you see at the level of grain size, 10 to 15% is a huge change or importance or significance for a market or for a farmer. If you are having suppose you got 10 kg, then if it is having 15% increase, then it is significant. If you understand like that, then it will be easy. Then to save from the fungus, MIR162A was overexpressed in rice. You can see here, this is wild type. These are the two lines of microRNA. Then the fungus level is decreased significantly. Almost more than 50% fungus is decreased in the plant when this particular microRNA was overexpressed. So it gave resistance to the rice plant. Another interesting case. So this is a wild plant of Arabidopsis. Arabidopsis is a model plant of family Cruciferae. Okay. So as you know, some plants are used for direct only for leaves, means for biomass, like lettuce and chenopodium and so many others. And some are used for decorative flowering plants. So two interesting case has been shown here. If you overexpress MIR156 microRNA in Arabidopsis, then you get vegetative stage, more vegetative production in that plant. This is wild plant. This flowering is inhibited, only vegetative portion is increased. Okay. If you overexpress MIR172 in Arabidopsis, vegetative growth is inhibited, flowering is increased. Okay. So this is very interesting concept. There are so many plants which are not used for fruit, and such type of cases doing genetic engineering is acceptable because you are not going to eat it, So here flowering you will use for decoration and all. Here biomass may be used for biodiesel or something else like that. Similarly, in barley also, overexpression reduces the green size. So this is a negative example, but this is again tell the significance of microRNA. They are generally involved in the regulation. When microRNA was overexpressed, the size of the grain and the density of that, particular seed or grain size was decreased. So, but how microRNA can be used for, positive manner here? What we can do? We can overexpress here inhibitor of microRNA, which can absorb this microRNA and allow the target to overexpress. Then you will have, more number of grains and higher density. So you can inhibit microRNA here in place of overexpressing it. Similarly, in tomato, other cases for MIR156. Okay, another interesting aspect is single miRNA regulate multiple traits. So, because how the microRNA are regulating their genes based on the sequence complementary. So one miRNA can target many genes. So that is very interesting. By targeting one miRNA, by using one miRNA, you can control so many traits as they are shown here. MIR172 involved in panicle branching, floret development, flowering time, so many. So there is a complex. These are some examples of microRNA has been already overexpressed in plant and they achieved, cold tolerance, drought tolerance, salt tolerance, and other type of abiotic stress resistance in the plant. This is also similar. Plant miRNA in molecular breeding. So several plants examples has been shown here. These are the microRNA. These are their target genes. These are the traits which are achieved. These are the papers which, describing these results. And the last, in insect. So how insects are controlled through microRNA? You can overexpress a microRNA in the plant. When this insect eat plant, that microRNA precursor or microRNA itself will enter into the gut of insect. Then similar pathway they will follow and they will downregulate the target gene of insect. Then you will receive, the mortality of insect through a single miRNA overexpression in a plant. So overall, a summary of this presentation is we have, basics idea about the RNAi, what type of components are there in RNAi, some enzymes like dicer, DROSA, how microRNA are generated in plant and in animal comparatively, how you can identify if you are as a student interested in research of microRNA, how you can characterize their targets, and in the last, how this microRNA has been used in plant system to improve the plant growth or yield. So with these words, I thank all of you to listening me. And if you have any query, question, doubt, please feel free to discuss.
Thank you so much, sir. It was very interesting and productive webinar. Now I want to ask if any from any student any questions, you can write it in the comment box on the Facebook Live. If any student have any questions, please ask. So yes, there is one question from Shyam Yadav. Like, if microRNA is functional, then what its function in the humans?
As I discussed, there are several functions of microRNA in human, starting from the top to bottom. Several diseases, like in cancer, LET7 have role, MIR150, MIR125 have role. In heart disease, MIR397 have role. So they regulate the genes as at the level of a student, you can understand how proteins are doing function. So proteins are the ultimate product which are responsible for functioning. Before that, there is a regulation that we were not knowing. We generally study in the textbook that this protein is expressing only in this particular tissue. But how? Who is controlling? We don't know. Now we are knowing microRNA is controlling. MicroRNA is regulating their expression. So in animal, they are called fine tuner. Fine tuner means when expression of that particular protein is required only 40%. So microRNA will bind to the 3' UTR and will regulate it. Okay. And there is a case of phenotype switch. When that particular gene is totally degraded by microRNA, then this is called phenotype switching. When the particular protein level of that gene is abolished by microRNA, then you will see phenotype switch. Otherwise, it will remain as a fine tuner. And fine tuning is very important in animal, because if you lose any 100% function of a gene, then in animal or in human, that is going to be very, harmful or, deleterious. While in plant, that is still acceptable. Yeah. Hope you may got your answer.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now, I would like to ask Principal, sir, if you have any words to say regarding this webinar.
Thank you, Dr. Darshana. I think the things are very much clear to the viewers, to the students, and we are running short of time. So I would like to thank Dr. Singh for spending the time to igniting the young minds. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So now I, Dr. Darshana Rathod, here to present word of thanks to the people who have made this event successful. I would like to take a minute and thank all of them. I would like to thank, first of all, our chairman of today's webinar, our respected Dean and Principal, sir, for his enthusiasm